They love to draw swastikas. They love to give Nazi salutes. About the royal baby, and you said, is it a non-issue? I was apprehensive about bringing it up even as a story, because I know you're much more interested in thoughts and ideas.
Right.
There's a quote, I can't remember exactly, that says, stupid people talk about other people, and intelligent people talk about ideas, or the more intelligent talk about events, and the most intelligent talk about ideas and concepts.
I think it's right.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. I was just using it as a as a theme.
Ideas
to get, exactly. There are. I mean,
okay. So with this story, like I already said about is it really our most pressing issue? For me. The guy took it down. The guy apologised. I mean, somebody said that what else could he have done? And does it really have highly motivated racial intent? You know.
No.
Another thing that might be worth bringing up is the Count Dankula case. Remember
the Hitler dog salute?
Yeah, had his girlfriend's pug dog trained it to do some sort of Nazi salute when he said certain things, and apparently this is a hate crime. And he was taken to court and shot. I think he was fined. Mm-hmm. It was originally going to be jail time and stuff like that, but he ended up getting fined. And as a whole, I'm not sure how familiar you are with this one. This is one that I actually followed. It's very important for freedom of speech. This thing that happened there. Okay. The guy is making comedy, and people decided that it wasn't comedy, and therefore he should be punished. Mm-hmm. So comedians, and the idea that the person who can joke, the person who can make light of very tough situations, is the precursor, and I'm going to quote Peterson here, is the precursor to the savior. And if I barely understand this idea, it means that if you can talk truth about reality, then you can make progress. If you can't question the truth, or what people consider to be the truth, you can't go anywhere.
Okay.
You can't adapt.
Okay.
Like in a brutal dictatorship, you say make any sort of indication, like Kim Jong-un or whatever, is not a god on earth. It's going to be bad times for you, man.
He's the world's greatest golfer, isn't he?
Right. Apparently, it's like 1,000 holes in one.
Yeah.
That is impressive. On
the Hitler issue, or the Nazi salute, some of the young people that I'm working with at the moment, the youngest, the 11 and 12-year-olds, love to mention Hitler. They love to draw swastikas. They love to give Nazi salutes. Mm-hmm. They love to draw a Hitler moustache on someone.
Right.
Why would they, born 70 years after Hitler died, would they love to mention Hitler?
Well, I mean, you've probably got more insight on that than me, because you're working with them.
Well,
I could hazard
a guess.
Because it's considered to be an unapproachable topic.
Yeah, it's what you don't say.
Right.
It's the one thing you don't say. Therefore, it's the one thing they want to mention.
Right.
And they love it because of the reaction and the panic on the face of the staff and I mean, this is why people.
You know what diffuses that? Just being like, what?
Yeah.
Oh wow, impressive.
Exactly.
Doesn't touch me.
I mean, I find it funny, but it's so. It's this idea that it's unsayable, and it's the shock value. If you take the shock value away, if you stop being offended, they'll probably stop doing it. I mean, the other thing they love to draw is a good old-fashioned cock. I mean, why is that the most common graffiti?
I don't know,
image?
man. I think there's ancient.
Because it's shocking.
I think there's ancient graffiti that is that.
Yeah.
It might be an impulse. It might be a human impulse.
But I think it grabs your attention because it's shocking.
Right.
And they want to shock people who have been ignored, or no one's listened to them, or feel that they're being ignored. They want to say, right, you're going to pay attention to this.
Right, precise.
I'm going to draw a cock on the wall, or on the table, or whatever it is, or I'm going to keep continually mentioning Hitler. And there was one kid who would refuse to do anything. He wouldn't sit down. He wouldn't even look at the worksheet or whatever it is. And I said, he's completely refusing. I said, oh, you'll like this. It's about Hitler. He came and sat down. It wasn't anything to do with Hitler. I said, oh, why would you be
Deceived them, man.
interested if it was about Hitler? This might be just as interesting. I think it was about the rainforest or something. But he wants that shock value.
Yeah, okay, understand.
Going back to the comedy, I think it's important that comedians push those boundaries, and comedians rely on shock
Some of them
value as well. Oh, yeah, some do.
But the other thing about them is that they say the unsayable of what maybe needs to be said for people to be able to live successfully together. If you can't make light of things, you cannot cooperate. Like, I don't know what type of jobs you've done in the past, whatever, but I've worked in quite a few different jobs. Some like physical, like harder kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the camaraderie you get in that, and the dirty, ridiculous jokes and stuff you hear, bonds people together as long as you participate.
Okay.
I don't know what your view is on that, but for me, it's a male bonding scheme, and it works fantastically well.
Okay. Although, what if those jokes are then at someone's expense and you get
There always are.
bullying in the workplace?
Okay, well, you've got
a canteen mentality.
Okay, cool.
Like in Our Friends of the Police.
All right. Well, the line between.
It's only banter.
I don't know if there's a line. It's a different atmosphere. It's a different attitude, because bullying obviously exists in workplace or wherever, but so does becoming part of an in-group. To become part of an established in-group, if you want to, you have to go through an induction. You have to go through an initiation. We do this unconsciously. All the time, men are constantly testing each other and sizing each other up.
Okay.
If you join a five-a-side football league or something, the guys are going to test you.
Yeah.
Always. And if you fit with that, then you might get in with that. And if you don't want that, you have to step out.
Yeah.
Just how we work.
Reminds me, in Nablus, in the occupied West Bank, I was training in
I've got to tell a story now.
Here we go. All right, well, story time.
You go first.
Just make a mental note of your story so we don't forget. But
sure.
I was training in the Thai boxing club, because one of the locals that was attached to the charity that I was working for was a top local Thai boxer and ran the club. And I'd done a lot of boxing and a bit of MMA at the time, so I'd got into the Thai boxing, and they'd seen that I was pretty good with my hands, not so much the kicks, but good with my hands. And this guy, Salahuddin, good friend of mine to this day, brought me to the local boxing club.
Yeah.
And he was like, "You guys, you got to meet this British guy. He's great at boxing."
They try to kill you, right?
That is a red rag to a bull in any boxing club. It's sort of reminiscent of Rocky 3.
You're defending your territory.
When he pitches up at Apollo. Well, I'm thinking when he goes to Apollo's gym. But when he goes to he goes to Russia. But when Rocky shows up at Apollo's gym, and all the locals from Apollo's gym are looking at me, like, "Who are you? What are you doing in our club?"
Right.
And they put me not even the ring. They just had like a squared off area on a hard tiled surface. I arrived in sandals and got into bare feet, and they said, "Right, you're going to spar with this top, the West Bank middleweight champion."
Nice.
And we went at it, and he put it on me.
For real?
Really, I mean, he's a Sobhi, is another good friend of mine, and he put it on me to defend his territory. I gave it back as best I could, but when you're in guest territory, you also have to not. When you're sparring, you can't turn it into a real fight.
No.
Or he'll start fighting for his life. So I had to box well and defend myself and let him know that I'm there and be absolutely respectful. And I absolutely do respect what went on, and I completely understand it. And we're good friends because of that.
Right.
And when I saw him a few years later, it was an absolute pleasure.
Can you respect somebody who doesn't test you?
Yeah,
That's an idea. Just come into my mind.
Good point.
Because if somebody allows you to get away with anything in any sense, they're not really with you. Like, for example, if you have a good friend of yours that lets you go down a spiraling bad path, they're not a friend with you.
Passes your car keys when you're drunk, and says, "There you go, drive home."
Precise.
Yeah, that's very true.
Interesting, man.
And we said before, a friend to all is a friend to none.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So as I was saying about comedy, let me pose a hypothetical, I suppose.
Yeah.
Can comedy ever go too far?
When I used to do comedy, having dabbled in comedy
Right.
as a stand-up comedian, it was mostly in a very, very, as I described to you, religiously conservative environment and a majority Muslim
You
crowd.
said they weren't conservative.
No, well, by Muslim standards, they
Right.
were not.
Okay.
But by and this is the interesting point. By Muslim standards, they were very liberal, open-minded, and they speak for themselves.
Heretics.
I'm speculating.
Right.
But on the Islamic spectrum, open-minded, people into integrating and having Westerners and Easterners come together in the same place.
Right.
But that is a million even the most liberal of Muslim community centre is a million miles away from the Working Men's Club up in Manchester, where Bernard Manning is effing and blinding and dropping the N-word and all the rest of it. Come in, Bina, come in. Come, no, come.
Okay.
Come. William, Bina, William.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Sit down. Where are you going to sit?
Like there?
Yeah. Just don't trip over.
I might trip over.
How you doing?
Hello.
How are you?
Good to see you.
All right, sit down. Let me get you a microphone.
No.
No? All right. We'll wrap this up and then I'll be with you.
Oh, okay.
That environment is completely different to the Working Men's Club where you could swim. So I had to push the boundaries within, and I did, and I think I offended a few people, and I dropped a few howlers, and there was a few awkward, did he really say that type things? But that's where comedy should be. You should sail close to the wind, and that is the best way to sail. Right, so over to Vina for an in-depth interview.